Oh, I tell you, every day, I mean, I was so burned out. The workplace culture was so toxic. And I would tell my wife virtually every night, and I would say, Lois, I'm just going to go into work tomorrow and I'm just going to resign. I'm going to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. But the reality of that situation was that wasn't reality. I couldn't quit. I couldn't leave. And the reason was because I was financially chained to the job, because we had been living at probably even above our means. And so if I left, we'd be in some financial trouble. And so I said to myself, and when Lois and I were talking about that, we said, we never want to be in this position again where we have to make decisions financially because we're stuck and we're chained to that. And so I think when you unravel that and you gain some financial freedom, there's a lot of power there to say, if I don't want to do this anymore, I don't have to do this anymore. Because, we've made a different financial future as opposed to where we were in the past. And when you talk about financial freedom, that's the most important thing, because you can feel that in your heart, you can feel it in your spirit. You can feel it on your back and on your shoulders. And when you release all that stuff, again, it doesn't happen overnight, but when you can release that and you gain some freedom, you can make decisions from a different spot. And that's the best way that I can kind of explain or give an illustration as to how it feels when you're able to do that. Because going back now, boy, if we were in a different financial position, I could have saved myself a lot of stress and a lot of heartache and a lot of frustration. And, I go back to that time in my life, and that stress affected every category of life. I mean, I was the most unhealthy I had ever been. Relationships in my life were not very good. I probably wasn't a very pleasant person to be around. So a lot of that could have been taken away if we had some financial freedom. Sometimes I'm cautious to share the numbers because people will hear it and they'll say, well, I mean, must be nice, good for you, but that's not realistic for me. So I'll share it, but then I want to tell you the real lesson behind it. So we paid off just under $380,000 in 38 months. And again, people hear that, they might be cautious, and they might say they're going to discount or discredit themselves and say, well, I can't do that. I can't pay that off. Try not to get lost in the numbers. Try and see yourself in the story. So when we were doing this, that was a lot of debt, obviously. And it was more than 2 times our income. So I want people to hear that as a ratio. So compare your ratio to that. So that would be like someone who maybe makes, let's say it's the US average is, I don't even know. I think the US household income average is 60 to 65,000, give or take a little bit. That would be like making 60 to 65,000 and you have 120 or 130,000 in debt. That's the ratio that you should compare yourself to. And that's where we found ourselves. And I think when people hear that, they're like, oh, I'm not in as bad a situation as the Depiesses were in. And that's what I want people to hear. I want to give people hope and encouragement when they look at their scenario and they look at ours. They can say, well, if they did it, I can do it. If they did it, we can do it. And if you're married, when you work together, you can really do some incredible things when you're working together and you're on the same team and you're supporting each other. And I think that's the lesson, again, that I want people to hear. But we essentially just, as Dave Ramsey would say, we got ourselves on a budget. We had a goal and we just worked together. We made some sacrifices. And it's funny. I mean, 38 months is a little bit over 3 years, which seems like a long time, right? But when I look back on it, that's a little blip on our life together, my wife and I, and myself individually. That's not a long time. So it's allowed us to propel forward. It's allowed us to build a life and a lifestyle that we love. And it's really opened up a lot of different doors for us. I think culturally and society right now, what we want it right now, and we want to snap our fingers and we want it to be there, and we want to microwave everything, right? And I think it's the inability to make a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. So when we looked at, how do we get this debt paid off? How do we get it paid off fast? There's going to be some trade-offs. And you have to be willing to say, can I make some sacrifices here that will be for a season of life, but once that season is done, we're in a much better spot and we don't have to do those same sacrifices anymore. And I think when people step back and they think about that, for a season of life, you can make that sacrifice when you're working towards some sort of vision that is really inspiring to you. And when I said you have to work together with your spouse, my wife Lois and I had a vision for what we wanted our life to look like, and we allowed that vision to pull us forward. As you know, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so we had a really strong vision, a really strong goal, and then when you have that, you're willing to say, you know what? Yeah, I don't need to buy a brand new car. I don't need to spend whatever it might be and do this, because I'm working towards this goal. I want this vision. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see. And again, that relates to finances, but it relates to anything else, health and fitness. It relates to starting a business, entrepreneurship, as you know, being a dad, all these things, right? It relates to anything. It's not just a personal finance lesson, it's in all categories of life lesson. We sought out people who, were living in a certain way that we found inspiring, and we allowed that to motivate us. I think it's really easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to other people and then feeling bad about it. You have to work really hard to use comparison in a positive way and say, gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. Look what, that's where we're working towards. We're inspired by them. We're able to cheer them on, but at the same time, we're not going to let that discourage us at all. And I think that's really important. I think finding people who have walked the same path as you, and they're willing to turn around and offer a hand, and they're willing to encourage you and support you. I think finding mentors like that is really important, whether it's a mentor you meet with in person, virtually, or you just you mentor that, they mentor you from afar through their books, through their podcasts, through their content, whatever it might be. I think that's really important to help you stay motivated, because on the journey, whatever journey you're on, you're going to be challenged, and there's going to be times when you're going to want to give up, whether it's paying off debt, whether it's starting a business. You're going to be given the opportunity to bail. You're going to be given the opportunity to jump ship if you want. That'll be constantly there for you. So having those people around you, and you have to be intentional about this, on finding others that when you're knocked down a little bit mentally, they're able to pick you up a little bit. I think supporting yourself through the process is vital, and it's finding those people who are willing to do that for you, and then it's you being willing to do that to other people. It's not a one-way street. I think when you are able to give life to other people, it also has a huge positive impact on you. And so that's where volunteering to teach FPU, Financial Peace University, or exchanging messages on social media with someone who is in a similar position to where maybe you were, and you're just a step ahead. Are you able and willing to turn around and say, I want to help you out?